All right. Let's get some people up in here real quick. I know I'm doing this late, but it's not a very serious issue, but there's still a chance of a few isolated severe storms tomorrow in the area I'm going to discuss in a minute. All right. So, welcome to the stream. Tonight I know it's late, but I'm going to discuss this issue for tomorrow down into parts of Louisiana, Texas, more likely eastern Texas, and into parts of southern and central Mississippi and Alabama, and maybe even potentially the panhandle of Florida, with the Storm Prediction Center has of right now isolated marginal threat for severe storms tomorrow. And that is driven by a very isolated tornado threat in that 2% risk, which includes New Orleans, uh, Baton Rouge, Mobile, Lafayette, Louisiana. And then as we go to the wind probabilities, pretty much the same, very isolated damage and wind gusts will be pretty isolated and localized throughout this general areas, similar areas as the tornado threat, and then the hail threat as well. A bit more broader into move into more parts of adding Texas like Dallas and Fort Worth into that as well, and Plano, Texas. I'm probably pronouncing that really poorly, but either way, that's what's going on right now. So let's look at some of these weather models of what they're showing this evening. So this is the Triple HR model or the HER model, 3 kilometer, and hold up. Yeah, this is a. Oh, I gotta go back to the 0Z for y'all real quick. So as you can see, this is tomorrow, Saturday, and y'all can have the time up here. Let's see if it's on there for you. Yeah, the time is right here, Eastern time. If y'all are having issues with UTC time, okay. So as you can see, there's scattered showers and thunderstorms in the vicinity throughout parts of eastern Texas and a few throughout southern Louisiana that could pose a possible isolated damage and wind gust or a very isolated, very weak tornado within a few of these will be possible, but very localized. Some of these storms could tap into um, some of this cape, especially down into. Hold up, my bad. If I can get to it, okay. Delete that. Especially the areas down into parts of central eastern Texas and southern Louisiana, that any storm that pops out here or in these general areas that taps into some of that cape could produce a very brief, very weak tornado or a few damage of wind gusts. And the significant tornado parameter is pretty relatively low. That's why they only had that 2% risk down in these general areas throughout here. Just a weak 2% risk, which I agree with. They might be a very isolated 1 or 2 storms that could try to produce a very weak tornado, but other than that, nothing significant going on. And the helicity index from at the 1 kilometer is pretty low on the scale. And then the shearing is pretty strong, but due to its environment with everything else, for example, let me go to the winds. Like the 850 millibar wind levels are very weak, relatively. The greens are about 20 knots, which is about 25 to 30 miles per hour, so it's very weak shearing on the storms. So I do not expect, like the National Weather Service has, do not expect this to become a very serious issue, severe weather-wise, besides a few isolated storms. Go out. Let's see. And then as the day goes on, as we get throughout the evening hours, this is about, go back a little bit, this is 8 p.m. As you can see, some of the storms are more, I don't know why it does that, are more scattered in nature, more showery, and a few thunderstorms. And then the heaviest of the rain and the issues are into parts of central and southern Oklahoma. Even as throughout the night hours, this is about 12 a.m. Still some very scattered showers and thunderstorms. It's pretty unorganized. That's why the severe weather threat is going to be pretty relatively low in these areas for tomorrow. Let me go back to for y'all for these general areas, and that the threat could continue into parts of the Panhandle of northern Florida and into parts of southern Georgia. So it's a pretty weak system that could produce a very isolated storm, that could produce a very localized weak damage and wind gusts, or just a very quick spin up isolated tornado. Could not be ruled out due to the amount of cape and all that loveliness that's a few of these isolated storms could tap into the energy, but the shearing of the winds is not favorable for supercellular storms or QLCS systems. So I do not expect a very extreme issue on this, besides just a few isolated storms that could briefly produce possibly a little bit of something. And even the dew points are pretty relatively, the deeper ones are very close to the coast. It doesn't go that far much north of that, so I do expect if these storms do tap into the energy, it would probably be somewhere in this area tomorrow afternoon into the evening. If anything at all, most likely be more just scattered regular springtime thunderstorms. Nothing too serious. It'll be more hotter down into parts of southern tip of Texas, but other than that, it'll be relatively pretty mild in the upper 60s into the lower 70s. Okay, so welcome to stream, everyone. I'm doing just a quick live super weather forecast for the folks in eastern Texas, southern central Louisiana, and southern Mississippi for tomorrow. A few isolated severe storms could be possible within this general green area right in here. That poses a threat for a very brief, weak tornado or two that could be very isolated, as well as isolated severe damage and wind gusts, or isolated large hail threat as well. And like I discussed earlier, due to the amount of winds throughout the atmosphere and a few other issues, this won't support any severe weather outbreak of any sort like we just had in Mississippi and Louisiana a couple days ago. It will not be like that. It'll be just a very pretty, in my opinion, pretty typical springtime day in the parts of eastern Texas and Louisiana, Mississippi. Just a typical springtime rain and thunderstorms. Nothing too serious, in my opinion, at least. Okay. Make sure to type in the chat any questions y'all have. The Earth got shifted 31.4 inches off its axis. Is that what's causing the atmosphere? Is that what's causing the catastrophic? God, I'm sorry. I had a long day. I can't read. Catastrophic weather events. In my opinion, it could be possibly due to kind of like global warming, where just the warming, or just if something is a bit off. It could, yeah, it possibly could. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying it could possibly have maybe a very slight effect because of that, but in my opinion, I don't necessarily think so. I know it probably doesn't answer your question, but at least it's something. Yeah. I appreciate the question though. And make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell if you're new to the channel so that you don't miss out on any of severe weather discussions, live weather events, videos, shorts, etc. Okay, okay, okay. Alrighty, so that pretty much sums it up, unless a few of y'all have questions in the chat. That's what I read this morning. It was on my Google feed, so I looked it up, and that's what it said. Okay. Hey man, it could be possible. Every slight issue with everything else to do with global warming and the melting of the ice caps and all that stuff that the Earth has issues with now because of all the carbon dioxide going into the atmosphere and all that craziness. I guess might as well. Like the magnetic pole has been shifting every few years, and that probably has effects on temperatures and weather patterns and so what have you. Every single thing to do with Earth impacts the weather systems every minute it does. It changes every second. That's why the weather's so inconsistent and why sometimes it's hard to forecast for us meteorologists. All right. Alrighty. Alright, I'm gonna end the stream here, guys, since hold up. One scientist said if one thing screws it up, everything screws up, and it's all connected. Yes, I agree. I agree with you, Lee. With that scientist, I don't know which one said it, but I do agree. Uh, but yes, everything to do with all that stuff is technically connected. So yeah, so I do agree with that scientist who had that discussion on that. Yeah, there was a few people here earlier, but since it's late at night, I don't get as many views, unfortunately. And thankfully, this isn't a very serious issue weather-wise, so I don't expect too many people getting their attention because by it. But I appreciate you chatting though, at least. And if you want to, make sure if you want to, you could subscribe if you want, so you don't miss out any more of these live discussions or just shorts or live severe weather coverage of outbreaks or hurricanes or blizzards or whatever do happen in the future. I'll be here on YouTube streaming it no matter the time or day. Or you could watch Ryan Hall, y'all. One of the two. I don't mind. He's pretty good, so I don't blame if you watch him instead. I appreciate Lee. Hopefully that answers your question. Yep, a good night now, my man. My bud. My bad. I should. Oh my lord. All right. So I'm probably going to end the stream here, guys. I hope you all have a good night. And I'll see y'all in the next live video. Probably, maybe sometime tomorrow. It depends. Alright.